All right, I think we can go ahead and get started. So we have a lot of folks joining. This is great. This is going to be a quick session. This is our session today. We have a great Impact Talk speaker, and so that'll be a wonderful thing to kind of move into this last stretch with those words of wisdom and that perspective. But our session today together, it will be fairly short. We know that a lot of teams just want to get to work, but what we'll also offer is after the speaker and after we kind of go through a few like housekeeping kinds of things and just get on the same page of what the next few hours are going to look like. If anybody wants to stay on this call and have a little more support on what is going to be on the pitch, we'll walk through like the pitch deck and some of the aspects of the pitch. So and that's optional. So if you just need more time with your team, you can do that. What we are trying to do, and maybe I'll throw this over to Leon later on in the call, but we are thinking through the process just so that we may not do a milestone 2 form. We know everyone is pretty busy right now, but we do want to check in and make sure your team is still the team that you signed up on the sign-in sheet, and you're kind of set with your time, that your scheduled pitch time. Because that's going to happen really quick once we get started. So we will just share some thoughts on on ways to connect with us and kind of confirm some of that as well. Let me just see. And Daniel, if you're on the call already, feel free to unmute yourself. I don't see you yet. Right. Adam, do you have any opening words?
Yeah, I am on the call.
Okay.
Yeah, let me go ahead and just give Daniel a quick intro. As you know, that I shared my story yesterday. I've been working in Haiti for a number of years, and you end up meeting a lot of people, just because a lot of people that are in the impact space and get to know each other, and that's part of the ecosystem building. So I met Daniel through a network called Partners Worldwide, where I think he served a number of years. He's really a great story of what impact can do, and I'm sure you'll hear from it in a little bit. But he got the opportunity to go to school through an American program of sorts. Really learned the importance of social enterprise. And has been trying to sort of champion that now for Haiti. Haiti, unfortunately, as many of you know, has just been a lot of poverty over the years through earthquakes and storms and just government corruption. And also because of the fact that the U.S. has brought in a lot of aid. We dump in food, money, resources, so some of that can actually cripple an entire economy, even as we're trying to do good. And that's why this whole Impactathon is based on social enterprise. And so Daniel Jean-Louis has written an amazing book, From Aid to Trade, and just that transformation of how we think and change our mindset. So I think all of you are really going to enjoy this talk, just in terms to frame your minds of how we really need to flip that switch in going from aid to trade. So with that, Daniel, over to you.
Yes, and Daniel is kind of on the go. So he has mentioned that his internet connection is a little unstable. So Daniel, if you want to just try at least with audio, we can just see how that goes, and you can just start sharing there if that feels more stable. Okay, I think maybe Daniel is may have gotten dropped off line. All right, well, I think we can, I know I see that Leon has a
Hello?
prompt. Oh, yes, hello, Daniel.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you too well. I don't know if others have a different experience.
Yes, I can hear you. It's disconnecting, but I can hear you now.
Okay, I think if you'd like to start this way, maybe this was more stable than the video.
I can hear you very well.
Great. Well, would you like to, Daniel, would you like to start? I don't know if you heard Adam did a little introduction of you, and we have a slide with your information on it. But if you'd like to just start, you can speak. And if you want to just do audio, that might work too. Okay, well, I think this might be maybe a bit of a challenge. I'm not sure if Daniel's able to get online, but I'd like to just say that whatever is happening now with this call is likely and as a good chance can happen in your pitch. So this is a good example of how for your pitches, you just have to be ready for the technology to potentially not work. And also there be something that may have worked at one point but is not working now. So I might just switch this over because I know that time is very precious and essential right now. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to more focus this session or our time here is if you have some kind of questions, maybe you can put those actually in the chat, and then we'll walk through them one by one, just so that we can hit all the questions. But any specific questions you have right now as we go into the last few hours, and then what I'll do is anyone after we kind of go through the questions and anything housekeeping items that we have together, I'll walk through some elements of the pitch again. So if your team, I know with different time zones, if everyone is online now and it's easier to walk through some of the elements of the pitch and things, tips and things to kind of, stay focused, we can do that. So we'll just make the most of our time and we'll just keep moving. So and hopefully if Daniel's connection or something works later, we can try to record his talk or share his information with you, because he's an incredible person who is now.
He needs all. Yeah. I've got him on WhatsApp. He's gonna just try to dial in.
Okay.
Is that dial in published for him somewhere?
Yes. Let me go ahead and
put it in the group chat if you can. I'm not as much of a Zoom ninja as I'd hope to be.
I tried the number on Zoom. Adam, I'm going to hang up so I can start a call.
Okay.
Zoom number.
You have it? Okay. We'll talk to you soon then.
Well, it's the number on the two.
Yep, that's exactly it.
Nito, this is Anita. I got a quick question. So how much time do we have to regroup before we come back and present? Because we didn't have that much time because of time zones yesterday.
Yeah. So in the Discord, in the announcements, there is the order, and so all of the pitches will start around 10 a.m.
Okay.
Pacific Standard Time. So depending on when your pitches, you'll come before, and we'll let the team leads know what that process is. What we'll probably do is have you hang out maybe on a place in Discord, and then on board, and maybe be just on mute and with your video off in the Zoom call. And then after you pitch, you can just leave that call so that, so that it'll kind of have a flow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're 6, so I assume that's like each thing is about 4 minutes or.
Yeah, and if you look, there's the time zone spreadsheet has the exact time based on your time zone of when your pitch starts.
Okay.
I've just put those links in chat as well.
Okay, awesome. Let's see, and I'm going to go to the questions right now that are coming up. The rubric, yes, the rubric has been shared and in the announcements as well, and we can drop that link in here. Let me find it. All right, and then let's see other questions that are coming through. Okay, perfect. Oh, thanks, Dan. Yeah, and I would like to know how people are feeling in this moment. So whether you want to unmute yourself and share a few words, or you want to just type it in. I'm kind of, we've been watching and connecting with you guys on Discord, but I wonder, how are you feeling right now? If you can type a word or two into the chat as we wait for Daniel to join us. Flexibility, yes, Christian, I completely agree. That's all. And that's like every day of being an entrepreneur or social entrepreneur, flexibility and adaptability. Okay, we have a question from Joseph. How do you share your slides? Yeah, with the sharing of the slides, we'll do like a share screen, like on Zoom. So we'll give you the opportunity to share the screen. Some people have reached out and said that they would feel more comfortable if we're sharing our screen just for internet stability. So if that's the case, then just let us know that, and when you put the link to your slide deck in submissions, we can share the screen on our side if that's helpful. Ria says she has mixed feelings. Yes, it's we can completely relate when the pitch part is both exciting, but it's also a time when you're
very, very nervous.
Yeah. You're sharing and you're kind of in front of everyone. So that is a mixed thing. But I think I use that.
It's first time that I'm participating in. Yeah, a little nervous but very excited.
Good, nice.
He's almost in. Yeah, sorry. We're getting him set up on dial-in.
Yeah, and I think this is if this happens in your pitch today, and you're kind of waiting, I would just say try to have like your talking points in front of you. So in that way, like even as you're creating your pitch and slide deck, maybe have some notes on paper so that you don't know, like you kind of have an idea what the next point in your pitches. And the nice thing about the pitch deck is it's kind of like 10 kind of points, and so yeah, I feel like what is happening now can very well happen, and just we're all looking through a lot of different technology and time zones and different variables. The other thing that I wanted to mention too about your pitch deck is I know that we gave you a pitch deck with 10 slides and that looked like it was, in sequential order. But as you now are kind of in the final stretch, maybe you have more of the pieces of your pitch in front of you than you did yesterday when we were going through it. Just know that you have the ability as a storyteller to change the order of that story, or to kind of create a narrative, create a flow. So we've given you the elements, but you can shift that and make that kind of work really well for like your specific idea.
Good morning. Hi, Nital. This is Daniel. I am calling with my cell phone now. So.
Oh, good. I hear you great. So you're welcome to jump in. Yeah.
Okay. Hello.
Yes. You can go ahead. I'm just going to share a screen with your image and your name, and so it'll be the backdrop to your talk.
Okay. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm happy to join you on this wonderful call today, and I'm sure there's a lot of folks, young people, aspiring entrepreneurs around the world who are here, and those who are in Haiti with me. So, good morning to you all. And so, I mean, you know, I'm hoping to share some perspectives with you guys today, and hopefully this will trigger some things you already know, but kind of like come back to you now. We can plug it into what our daily life is as an entrepreneur. And there's a lot of different countries with different sets of opportunities, and underneath those opportunities are full of obstacles. And once you go past those obstacles, you are able to pursue your opportunities. And the case for Haiti, for instance, there's a lot of short-term aid that comes in to help with relief, immediate needs, but in the long term, they end up clogging the market and with short-term relief that prevent business opportunities to grow in the long term. And with that comes a lot of unrest and political instability. Those unrest are backed by inequality. Haiti is, I think, the second or the third highest inequality country, most unequal country in the world, come right before Lesotho and South Africa. So basically, a small number of people, about 1 to 3%, control over 80% of the wealth of the country. So lower income folks and average income folks, the middle class, very shrinking middle class, have a lot of different obstacles to overcome in order to have access to any sizable market or substantial piece of the pie, so to say, with a very small economy. So all of that battling access, lack of credits, and market disruptions, distribution, unstable distribution, and poor governance. And those are exactly the kind of factors that needs to be taken in consideration when pursuing an opportunity here. And this opportunity is basically all of those obstacles are in fact opportunity. One thing that I've always tried to do since I started my company, my investment company, we invested in many different businesses, from construction to solar panels, engineering systems, and ambulance services. We try to be more or so in the service industry because it has, for several reasons. First of all, it's limited fixed costs. The more capital investment you make, the heavier it is for you to break through the market and break even. Because before you can even break even, you have to cover all of your amortization costs. And when you first started, with all those difficulties, you're not going to be able to have the scale you need to cover all your fixed costs and immediate variable costs to break even and start your way into profitability. So, and profitability is the first step towards impact. An unprofitable business is a burden for society and businesses because impact starts with profitability. If you run an unprofitable business, an unviable business in an uncertain environment, then that business ends up losing resources for the entrepreneur, for society, and moving further away from impact. So the first responsibility of the business is to be able to break even and work your way to profitability and working your way into the impact you're looking for. So the impact is, first of all, the profitable business is a good sign that you're running a healthy investment portfolio as a money manager or as a business manager, and all the employees you're working for, ensure that these people can stay hired and paid with the benefits that they deserve as they switch and invest their time and talents into their company. So the first thing I'm trying to do, and I've tried to do, is to invest in companies that are more into the service industries. Then this is the ambulance service company. There's a number of fixed costs in these companies, but we try to keep them as liquid as possible, or as much as we can. We try to, as long as the country remains unstable, to limit it our fixed costs. And the second thing is to be able to work with distribution and leverage there to diversify the distribution opportunities. So there's many different reasons why you need to diversify the distribution, is because with the unrest and disruptions and so much aid, so you can wake up one day with a viable market and the next day it's no longer there. And it's a market you counted on in a segment that you relied on to distribute your product or services, and it's not there. So it's not like you're going to overspend your marketing budget to go after too many segments, but it's the fact that you diversify safely. Your distribution channels allow you to count on more than that, putting all your eggs in one basket. So that's very critical. And that includes export. And one of the things that I'm trying to do now is to go to different export markets. We are very close to the United States, but the standards of consumptions and expectations of clients are very different from Haiti to the U.S. So to break into the U.S. market, it needs to have a lot of standardization and investment that is made in passing, supporting tools that ensure the same quality of services and products that is being made here can also be sold in the United States. And that is just, like the of FDA. Can you hear me? Looks like someone needs to mute. Hello? Okay. So the same standard that is applied here doesn't apply for the United States of America. So that needs to be adjusted, quite frankly, and that has a cost as well. Besides limited fixed costs, there is limited fixed costs, diversifying investment and distribution. There's also the access of investment. I advise everybody in Haiti, specifically in a lot of developing countries, to stay away from credit as much as possible. And there's a lot of investment professionals and money managers and company managers that talk to me about credits, and credits become a very like a song and a place where everybody goes, because they think that lack of credit is the biggest obstacle for economic prosperity. And I think that's true. That is very true. But as long as credit remain more expensive as equity or other kinds of investment, I'm staying away from credit as much as I can and advising other people, because credit is more expensive than equity. And some entrepreneurs in Haiti, I'm sure it's the same as Swaziland or other African countries and unprosperous Asian countries, you're borrowing money at 30-40%, and when you get equity investment, your equity is just basically you promise your investors 20%, and you just remove yourself the stress of having to generate cash flow sooner than you needed to, because the company, when you start the company or when you buy into the company, it will need time after you make it your initial or halfway investment into it to generate the leverage and the scale you're looking for to get this company to profitability. So getting to this space or as cheap as you can get of a capital is better for you, because then you remove not only the stress to pay that company that money back in interest, but also you are able to keep all of your cash so you can keep investing into all of the infrastructure that are not present into your environment, such as electricity, such as internet. And obviously, I'm talking to you right now. I have to use my mobile data because my internet is not reliable. I have at least 4 or 5 internet connections within my companies and in my office, and it's just none of them is viable. So you want to retain the cash that you have at your company as much as possible, so you invest in the least expensive form of investment that you can. And so there's so many things that go on that the investor or the businessman into the developing countries need to take in consideration when they invest their money and time in a profitable venture. So it's worth the time to innovate and see how all of this can come together in a cohesive way for your company to thrive. Because the first step of impact is having a viable company. And the second step of being an impact company is to afford good jobs, good paying jobs, so people can raise themselves out of poverty with dignity. And through that, people can actually contribute to society to the maximum of potential. And the third steps of being a good impactful company is to put out good products and services that can solve problems that individuals, businesses, individual governments are not able to solve themselves. And all of that creating wealth to profit and value added that comes from your investment. So there's a lot of ways that keep companies, investors from getting there. And I've talked to them about that at the beginning, all the aid that clogs the market, the lack of incentives, government corruptions, a lot of different things like political instability. So the entrepreneur need to be mindful using innovative techniques and sound decision making and policies and investment strategies that will get them to where they need to go. So this is basically what I think. My time is up. I'm not sure if Nito, am I doing good, or I don't want to overspeak my time.
No, you're doing great. This is a great perspective on the investor mindset, and also for some teams right now, they may feel like we're not there yet. But if you, by hearing Daniel speak, one day you may be there. You may be thinking about some of these things. So I think this is a good perspective to kind of keep reminding us that we're on a journey, and the road goes even beyond entrepreneurship. So this is really great.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. I will, Daniel, ask one other question you can answer. All the teams now have been, negotiating their time zones. They've been working really hard, and they're getting ready to pitch. So you hear a lot of pitches. You make a lot of pitches. Do you have some tips for them of how to tell their story? They only have 4 minutes. It's gonna be very quick for them. But from your experience, like what, even like as an investor, when you're hearing these pitches, what are you really looking for? And if they had to focus their time now in these next few hours on really getting that story down, do you have any thoughts of what you look for, or when you hear a good pitch, like what are elements of that?
I think the biggest challenge for aspiring entrepreneurs or actual entrepreneurs is to clarify their business model. And some of them, they actually think having a product or having a service is enough to have an impact and profitable company. It's not. You have to have a very clear business model, who your customers are, what is your cost per unit, how do I break even my profitability, and how does my strategies looking like? Okay, what problem am I trying to solve? What is my long-term? Why am I doing this? What is my belief behind this, and how do I achieve this? And they only have 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 minutes to do that. So compacting this clarity is a challenge for these entrepreneurs. So basically, they have to have discovered all of that, brainstorm, and rehearse the pitch several times and have several professionals hear it, criticize it, make sure the business model is clear. So the investors, they want to know, first of all, do you know what you're doing? Okay. And what you know what you're doing is the company experience. And do you have any valid amount of time you're doing this, and what have been the results? So I think this is the biggest challenge I've seen a lot in these people, and everybody who pitched to us, sometimes they are very confident. I'm sure they know how to make the product, but from that product to make a business model, a successful business model, is a challenge to them. And I think that it comes from a lack of understanding of they have to see where the investor come from, because investors are looking for confidence and trust that the investment is safe and is producing a good return for them, and it will be impactful for society. So I think that they have to try to clarify all those business aspects, all those variables, and find a link between those parts, cost, sales, cost benefit principles, distribution. Are you in an emerging market? Are you in an unstable market? How are you going to use tools to overcome this instability? And you have to rehearse that so much that it's become, you pack that into 1 minute. And that is a major challenge, and they need to be aware of that. And even people who are not looking into managing money, also managing company, because I manage money and I also manage companies. And the same principles still apply, because, managing money, you're in a liquidity market. Obviously, it's high risk. And managing money is just assets that are not as liquid, and some of them are liquid. And the same principles apply in terms of what are the innovative ideas and infrastructure and structure you will put in place to ensure that you bring stability and safety to your company, while at the same time remain ambitious. So this is just like some of those principles that I've seen work in the developing countries, and also in developed countries. I've seen a lot of my investors losing money all the time, and they are able to average their gain because they make more safe investment than they do unsafe investment. And it's just, you invest, you're going to lose, but you make sure you gain more than you lose. So the idea is to clarify the steps you're going to take in order for you to understand your market, understand your customers, and love your customers, serve them. And in return, they will give you their loyalties, and they will take care of you. And also your employees, just make sure you talk to them, open your door, be there for them, just understand them from a personal perspective before you understand them as an employee. Because these are people, they need to be understood, loved, and show affection. And this is just those basics that needs to be applied to running a successful company. Haiti has cost me a lot of money. We lost a lot of money. We lost in the last 2 years. We lost like millions, and but we're changing our strategy to diversification. So some of the companies make money, some lost, and we'll be fine in the long run.
That's great. We have 2 quick questions from the group, and then after that, we will answer more questions on the pitch, and then I know teams will want to work and finish. But we have a question from Natasha that says, what keeps you driven despite fluctuations of running a business?
I think I'm made for this job. I do it because, that's what I think about the most. I mean, I went to business school. Before that, I was going to be a lawyer, and then I switched my major, and I majored in business. And I love the challenge, the thrill to solve problems. And business, that's all we do every day. We solve problems. I've done a lot of major undertaking of failing companies, turn them around, and unproductive and unimpactful NGOs. I've turned them around. Major investment into education, and I think that has given me a voice that otherwise I would not have. But also, as I've seen what businesses can do, this is the cement, the energy that provide the resources for society. Businesses are resource generators, and I've discovered that after my business classes, I've discovered all the wealth that there are in the world. Businesses create them, and all the other entities, government, NGOs, they are distributing resources that are created by businesses. And also they create forms of sort of services, but they create those services unprofitably as they distribute the wealth they collect. All this foundation, they collect grants from businesses, from governments that collects taxes from people who work for companies. So this clarity that I have of how wealth is created, you look at 200 years ago, even 100 years ago, people in the world were dying of hunger and poverty, and now people are enjoying great wealth, and all of that because market economy has thrived, and people have understood how to create wealth in a more stable society. So that's just, this clarity keeps me going, and seeing the impact that is creating for me, my family, my country, no matter how unstable it is in itself a good reason for me to keep doing what I'm doing.
That's great, and you're kind of the essence of social enterprise. You're speaking to that, which is really great. The final question we have is from Aspect. That's how are we going to make the investment in order to decrease poverty? So maybe he's kind of the connection between investment and poverty alleviation.
Well, if you look at it pre-pandemic, the UN has these goals of reducing poverty, and before the UN got there, market economy has already made it. If you look at poverty rate, extreme poverty, that's pre-pandemic. The poverty rate has gone from the 1990s from 36% to less than 6%. So this is not just the work of NGOs. This is the work of private capital, mainly in Asia, in countries like China, that was really poor at some point in time. And today, China is the second largest economy in the world that enjoy a much bigger middle class. And also countries like India, that is also the size of Indian economy is getting larger than the economy of France, a developed country. So you see all of that is not done by NGOs. They are done by governments understanding the role of businesses and allow private capital to thrive. So basically, businesses and entrepreneurship is the number one tool that reduces poverty and eliminates poverty around the world. Now, the question is, do you have a government? Do you have a supporting infrastructure that allow businesses to do that profitably is the question. How is the culture of entrepreneurship in your situation? Do you have a government that promotes, supports, sustains infrastructure, lack of corruption, lack of leadership, lack of understanding this and that, to support the culture of entrepreneurship makes a big difference. How is your government invest in innovation? How do your government understand? Look at Haiti and Dominican Republic, two countries sharing one island. One is pro-business, pro-investment, and with government transparency, the other is the opposite. And look at the results. And you will see that immediately the standard of living and the living condition of people in those two different countries, because they have different mindsets, realities, and they promote different way of creating wealth, is very different. So basically, business has proven over and over, private capital in terms of equity, debt, or all kinds of financial and investment instruments has been the key to alleviate and eradicate poverty. So the differentiation is, do you have a government that promote it or that demote it? So in many different, you will see in Africa today, there was all those past leaders that used to, squander the wealth, just invest in unprofitable things. Now there's a new class of leadership in Africa, like Patrice Talon from Benin, and there are other younger type leaders that understand how wealth is created, and you see the results. So basically, it's just where it lies. It lies to, it's not a question of whether or not private capitalism create wealth. It's a matter of what is the defining infrastructure you have that support the investment and promote this capital infrastructure to create wealth.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Daniel. One last question is, how can people reach you? That came up in the chat. Is there a way that people can reach out to you if they have questions?
I'm on Facebook. Daniel Jean-Louis is my name. They can just send me a message on Facebook, or I'm very alive on social media. They can email me, djlhaiti, Haiti, @gmail.com. And I will be sure to be in touch with them, and also on WhatsApp. And I've lectured in many different countries around the world, over 50 different countries. And I enjoy talking to young people from Ivory Coast to Taiwan to Thailand to the US to Guatemala. And it will be a pleasure to interact with these guys. And please don't hesitate to connect with me on Facebook or on WhatsApp. I'll be happy to talk to you.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Daniel. And everyone, we're going to come back into the room together. And in this last part of our time together, before you head back to Discord, I wanted to walk through some of the aspects of our pitch now as we enter the final part. So I'm going to just share my screen with some of the resources that we've been sharing. I know that everyone is in a different time zone, and we've been sharing some different things on announcements. So rather than assume that you've seen all of them, maybe we can just walk through some of them now and just get on the same page, so to speak, for that. So let me pull some of these things up. Okay, perfect. I'm going to share my screen. All right. So hopefully you can see this. This is the submission information and for your pitches. So I just want to walk through some of this so we're on the same page. Your pitches are going to be 4 minutes long, and there's 2 minutes of Q&A. We have a spreadsheet, the same spreadsheet that had the time zones for the overall event. The second sheet has itemized time zones for your pitches. So we've left a little bit of room in that time. You'll notice it's like an 8-minute block, but there's a good chance that will be moving pretty fast. So we really rely on you and your teams to be ready and to be moving forward, because once we get off of that time, you can imagine that every team after is going to also be off as well. So we're looking for your support on that as well. In Discord, there is a submissions channel. So that is a place that you can put a link to your slides. And that's something that is good to have before, so that in case your technology doesn't work, one of us on the call can pull up the slides and share our screen. So definitely prioritize that. That's a good thing to have. That's not required. Some people may not want to share their slides, or they want to just they may not be ready. So, but just know that it's not required, but it's a good idea. It's a good backup. We'll be pitching on Zoom, so we'll be pitching here. We won't be pitching on Discord, and it will be a Zoom meet. And so what we'll do is we will share the link with the point people. And everyone that's watching, and in case your family wants to watch you pitch or anyone else, they totally can. We will have them join us on the live stream. And even for you, after or before you pitch, if you're pitching towards the end and you want to watch, it's a good idea just to watch on the YouTube live stream and then just join the Zoom call when you're going to pitch, just so that we can try to keep, just try to keep the number of variables for that Zoom call more simple and hopefully have more success technologically. So yes, well, you can view it on live stream on the YouTube channel. And this came up yesterday. People asked, can you do a pitch with multiple speakers? And yes, the answer is yes. And in fact, I mean, the fact that you are collaborating all over the world, it's incredible to actually see that in a pitch. And the judges won't really know that until they see that in your pitch. So you can. What I would just really make you aware of is that just adds another variable. So if you're doing it live, just practice that transition and just practice what that will be like when you pass the baton over in 4 minutes. You could spend the whole 4 minutes just trying to say, oh, can you hear me? Or, so definitely practice that part of it. And what I would also suggest is, even if, let's say you have a team of 4 or 5 and just 2 people are pitching, which is great, you may have everyone just join and unmute themselves for the Q&A, so that in case one of your team members has some expertise or has some deep knowledge about one part and the judge asks that team member can speak. So now this comes to the video recording. I think you've seen with these big sessions here that that sometimes having that video recording can be really helpful. So that's something that you and your team can create, and that might be a very if you're ready, if you're in that stage and you're ready for that, that might be something very focused you can work on in the next couple hours. Is coming up with that brief video, and that way you can have different people and connect by Zoom and all of that. And you can record a Zoom call, so that might be a way that you just actually pitch and then you can submit that. But just make sure that we have that or that it's ready to play, because we'll have to make sure the audio works, because you don't want just to have a video and then the audio doesn't work. That may not achieve what you hope to achieve with your pitch. So one suggestion is you can upload it to YouTube and keep it unlisted, and that way we just know that it'll play from anywhere, and we can also send that link to the judges in case there's any tech difficulty, between the Zoom call and their laptop or wherever they're joining from. We will continue to use the announcements channel to let you know a few details about the pitch and kind of as we head into the final stretch. I know that people are feeling different things, but I want you to feel really good about yourself too. This has been such an undertaking, and you all, really have shown up. And I haven't been able to be active in a lot of the discussions, but I've been dropping into some of the discussions and just seeing the critical thinking and the thoughtfulness around poverty alleviation. Beyond this event, that's what we're going to need if we really believe we can solve poverty. So you're on that path, and this is a event that has a constraint that we've created, and so there's some pressure right now. But the bigger goal, when we finish this, poverty will still be there, and it will still need you as a problem solvers to address it. So in moments of the final stretch and kind of a sprint to the finish, that might feel anxious, or you might feel like, oh my goodness, we're not ready, or how's that going to sound? Just kind of take a pause and look at the bigger goal, and all of us getting to the table to discuss this is like really important, and the people you're meeting. Also, one of the things I will say is we have a number of catalysts that are free now, actually, that with their schedules. So even if, this is my challenge to your team, even if you feel like, oh, we just need to work and we're not ready to speak to catalysts, please just have them sit in and listen to your group speak, because they are coming in from another perspective, and they might be able to just support or even ask an insightful question that can help your team, and it's a way to get to know them as well. And so You know, they might be dropping in. And so if you're not in your voice channel, but you see a catalyst in your channel's voice channel, jump on the voice channel and chat with them, because maybe they're they're just checking out if you're there. And yeah, and so I think with that, I want to give you guys the time to move forward. I will go down to judging criteria as well. Let me actually walk through this as well. People have asked, what are the judges judging us by? That question has come up. So this is just to be very clear, this is exactly what we've given the judges. And I know some of the judges are on the call right now. So nothing hidden here. It's very transparent. But basically, we're looking at your problem identification. Did you identify? And this really correlates also to your slides. So again, nothing like, it's not so much a hidden thing. It's just, can you get to all of this and do it in a very succinct and clear way? But did you identify the problem? And you know, this is where if you had done if you've had a chance to do the problem tree or some version of that, you kind of drill down to something specific. Did you, in doing that, did you kind of identify a gap? Like, why is this still a problem? And what is the gap that a solution can actually fill? And then an explanation of your solution. And one tip I'll just give you about this is, sometimes the solution is so clear to your team because you've been working on it, you've been talking about it, but you have to remember the judges have no idea. They have not been in any of your discussions. So when you explain your solution, really zoom out and just first, you know, like give the sentence about what is your solution. This happens when I'm judging pitches. Sometimes the 4 or 5 minutes goes by and I'm like, I don't understand exactly what they're doing. Like, cause you know, there's a lot of maybe jargon or internal speak or something that is just, you know, just remember that you're talking to someone who has no idea, you know, what you've been working on. And this is where working with the catalyst right now can help, because they also don't know much about your ideas. So if you give them one sentence of explanation and they say, I don't understand, then that's where you can just focus your attention and time on. It's just, is it really clear what you're working on? And then, you know, looking at some of the effectiveness, you know, of that solution. And, you know, Daniel spoke to a little bit of the business model. He's coming from like, this is, if you're going to pitch to an investor, Daniel is like, he's a nice version of an investor, but they really drill down on some of those things, and they will question you. Just know that our judges are not necessarily investors, and they're social impact minded. So, you know, you may want to take a few minutes and look them up. They're listed in the Impact Catalyst directory. You can maybe look at their LinkedIn or their bios, and just know that understand their lens into this, and that might help you focus on with the points that you bring up. So, you know, you have people, you know, from the Impact Hub, who's very, you know, like Grace, who's from the Impact Hub, is very aware of social enterprise. You know, Will is an entrepreneur, has scaled businesses. You know, Join the Journey, who has been a collaborator and, you know, has been part of this and is doing microfinance with, you know, someone from the board is there. And Radha is from iMerit, is they run a social enterprise at scale and are scaling and are a technology company. So when you're thinking about what points to emphasize, really think about who your judges are too. And this is, you know, it is a pitch because it's live streamed and it's a pitch to everyone, but you are pitching to 4 people, and they have, and you can look them up and you can kind of understand what their lens might be. The other thing is, you know, this is an impactathon. Impact is the first part of the word of our hackathon. So know that the judges will want to know, have you thought about impact, and how have you outlined that? How have you, you know, even started thinking about measurement? So you know, in focusing on maybe a business model, you know, make sure that impact is really critical and core to your ideas. One of the things we added, and this is really great, I really appreciate, this is why it's wonderful to work in a collaboration, in a conversation with Adam, he brought this up too, is, you know, we're doing this Impactathon in such a momentous and profound time of the pandemic. Anyone who's in this SF Bay area, we have fires and there's a lot of smoke around here. But we're also in a time of thinking about systemic racism, and through Black Lives Matter and global movements of thinking about how are the systems built and how are inequities around race and colorism part of that from the beginning? And then how can you have an inclusive, you're always playing catch up if you started out your idea or solution and it wasn't inclusive. So we have a chance with all of us, we're starting ideas together. And so how can you make inclusivity part of the DNA and the essence of what you're starting today and now? And so, you know, so it can be an inclusivity of backgrounds on your founding team. Are voices, are all the voices that should be part of that at the table for making decisions at the table? And if they're not, how can you make sure that those perspectives are included? And you know, and what are the ways that you are building a solution itself that's also inclusive, so that the people and the communities you serve, like you're expanding that view of it too. So that's something that is unique, and we're adapting our judging criteria to include that, because we think it's important. And hopefully from here on out, a lot of other judging competitions, or you know, or even companies also, you know, see the importance in that as well. I have, one of the things I've enjoyed seeing on your in your discussions when I pop in is that you've been trying to think through ways for user feedback. So definitely, you know, keep at it. And a shortcut, little tip, a shortcut to your user feedback would likely be with talking to the Impact Catalyst, because they may have worked in those areas, or they may know how you can maybe, you know, validate something or even rule something out. And that's something really critical. And then really just the judges will also be looking at the overall quality of your pitch. Was it clear? Was it, you know, concise? You know, did you kind of deliver strongly? Did you, one of the things that I see sometimes when I'm judging pitches is you have this amazing idea, but sometimes you maybe the person gets nervous, or they're just kind of very monotone, and they're just like, yeah, this is the idea, and it's soft. And you know, it makes a big a difference, especially for the judges, because you have to imagine the judges are going to see 20 pitches all back to back. So your enthusiasm, your excitement about what you're doing is going to make a big difference. So, you know, even if you're nervous, just kind of take a deep breath and just, you know, really be excited about your idea. Because for the judges, if you're not excited about your idea and you're judging, I mean, it's hard for them to generate that kind of excitement if they don't see it from you first. And you know, and the other thing is, did you make an ask? And I know that's the last slide of the template, but the ask doesn't always have to be a money ask. That this has come up in a few questions that I've received. You know, at this point, you're much more aware of what you don't know about your idea, and no one is saying that you need to be an expert in 24 hours. In fact, that would be very problematic if anyone was saying you need to be an expert in the problem that you're solving in this short time. But by what you might know now, if you had more time, or if you had, you know, if you were able to think through this and map this out, what would you want? And that's something you can ask if it's a clear ask. Like, I know in the past I've seen people ask, well, you know, we would really like to talk to someone who works in this area, this particular intersection of social impact and, let's say, poverty alleviation. And that's something where by asking that, you don't know that the judges or anyone watching might say, oh yeah, I know someone that can do that, or that can speak to you, or that can, a community of people that you can talk to. So definitely, you know, be thoughtful about your ask, but figure out how to make an ask. I'm going to pause there. I see there's a lot of questions. I'm just going to look into the chat and see if there's anything that is there. Okay, great. All right, well, I am going to stop my share here and just see if there are any other, you know, questions. Otherwise, we'll see you back in Discord. And, you know, just for your point people and for your teams, just we encourage you to monitor the announcements channel. That's where we'll be using that to really be in touch with you.
Nito, I got a quick question.
Hi, Anita.
So on slide 8, there's this, what did you build and what is the feedback? And some of the questions, I mean, are you expecting us to do an actual demo in this time frame?
No, No, definitely not. It's kind of like, what did you like? How did you get feedback? And maybe a build could be like, if you built a simple version of something, or even if you are just had like a form and are getting feedback, but kind of like, what did you create or do, and then how did you get some feedback on that? So right now, and for this stage, it could just be that you had a questionnaire and that's what you kind of built. Like you built this interaction thing to get some more feedback, and then what was that feedback that you got, and how did that continue to support what you were building next, or what the next iteration of your idea will be.
So did you get out of the building to test your solution? So that also has more to do with feedback?
Yes, yeah. That's feedback is I think one of the main levers, for an event like this, is just getting some outside, thoughts on the ideas that you're working on. And it can be very simple, a simple version of that. But yeah, thanks for that clarification. And I can maybe go into the template and clarify that, so people aren't trying to build an app in the next hour or something.
Yeah, and I'll just jump in with some closing comments too. And by the way, I think that everything you said and your thought was just right on. It's hard to come up with something in 24 hours. So bravo to each of you, and just how you're working together, and just take a step back too, and maybe if you're not hitting every single point of that, where can you make up ground? Hey, we're really innovative, or hey, this, we can see this, and think storytelling. There's a lot of catalysts too that are on this and on this Zoom that are storytellers. Half the pitch is just convince me that this is going to work. And you hear a lot about the elevator pitch. If you can't do it in 10 seconds or 20, how long it takes to ride an elevator, obviously you guys got 4 minutes. But think about that. You don't have to really show me the entire world and how it spins, but just how do we get there? And just finally, just on the judging criteria and some of the prizes, we solidified that a little bit. I'll put that in the announcements. Really just going 1, 2, 3 for the cash prizes. And those are going to be based on the judges' scoring criteria. So it's really whoever gets the most points, and those judges will confer at the end if there's a tie. And that's why we've really allowed those judges that authority to mediate and put those scores based on those criteria sheets that you see. So made it very transparent to you all in terms of those criteria sets. So may the best team win, but obviously all teams are winners here. And we've got a lot of non-monetary prizes that we want to leave everyone with something, even if it's a certificate, or at least maybe connect you after we hear your pitches. Well, hey, I do know someone in Mali, or I do know someone working in that, and we've had social investors kind of at least come through here. I know that they'll be able to really take this forward beyond Impactathon, and I want you all to realize that we're committed to that. So I don't want to take much more of the time, because I know everyone's eager to work. So if it's all right, Ethal, do you want to just set everyone loose, and we'll let people stay behind as needed?
Yep. The rest of the time is yours. We'll see you on Discord, and we'll see you back here in a few hours. Thank you guys so much.